Hello and welcome, Cosmic Family. For those of you new here, I'm Charlie, I channel 7, and today I'm going to speak about a touchy subject, and it's going to be a bit of a rant, as sometimes these videos are, but stick with me, and I want to hear your thoughts down below. I hope I can get everything I want to say in this video. With that, I am calling on to the help of hot cocoa because it's also getting very cold out here where I am in the Czech Republic. So today I wanted to speak a little bit about this usury system that is used to keep us enslaved. First of all, what is the usury system? Well, this is the system that is an ancient system of that Christianity and the Islamic faith tried to make sinful, which is basically lending money at interest. Now, if you live in the United States, we have a banking system that is not just something that's new to the United States, it's something that has its roots far away. Now, far into the past. I'm not going to go into that because won't be here all day and night, though I do recommend a very interesting channel, really graceful, on YouTube. She does a really good job of going into the deep state and who they are, because a lot of people ask me, who are they, right? Who they are, right? That control us, all right? And whatever perspective you want to take from it, whether you see these beings as human beings or non-human beings, I kind of want to focus on the system that's been set up in place. That's how the matrix really works, which is the money system. Now, money is not real. You might say, well, yeah, of course it is real. Okay, yes, it is real because we've all accepted it as real, at least the money as we know of now. So this system in place is here to keep us enslaved. Now, you might say, well, Charlie, you're not a financial channel. Why are you speaking about this? Well, because the truth is, how can we truly ascend and live truly aligned with spirit if we're within a system that has completely enslaved us, right? In that sense, spirituality, and for some people and for some groups of people, spirituality does become like this little drug that they take in order to kind of live detached from what's really happening around them. And that's not what this channel is about. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested not just in doing the inner work, but also understanding how the world around us works so that we really understand what this matrix is, how it works in the practical sense, and what can we really do to step out of it. And we might not be able to step out of it 1,000%. For example, this money system is very strong. I can't say I've stepped out of it because I am not fully sustainable. I would like to be, and that is something I'm moving towards. That is something where my roots are from. So I'll take a little detour from my roots, and what I mean by that is my great-grandfather from the small country of Albania owned land, just like everybody else around him in the villages. And he was fully sustainable. He grew all his food, grain, everything. He made it there. And if there's something else he needed, he would barter. And then comes World War II, and then the communists. And they said, your land is not yours anymore, we're taking it, because they wanted to start these co-ops. Now, let's just say the co-ops didn't go so well, and in the 80s, like, people were literally in line just to get, like, rancid old pieces of meat and just a piece of bread. It just was not good. But before then, farmers would grow the food, they would barter with each other, then they would go to the town, and they would barter even with the people in the city, because the people in the city had other skills. Like my grandma, who lived in the city, these are not New York City, we're talking about small towns here, but they're cities in the country of Albania, or at least they were back then. They would barter for clothes, textiles, things like that, right? And everything was local made, all right? Now, we don't live in that world anymore, but going back to my grandfather's story, when the communists said, you know, we're coming to take your land, he was fully sustainable in that land. His other next option was to work for the communists who would own the land, all right, and then pay him some miserable wage, if that, or some grain or something ridiculous, right? So he said, over my dead body, and he basically died protecting his land. So those are my roots. So I do feel strongly about this, even though my lifestyle right now doesn't necessarily reflect that. I live in Central Europe in a city. However, I do make a point to buy as much local as I can. And that's what I love about being here, that in order for me to order Amazon, for one, I have to order from Amazon in Germany. It takes a week to get stuff, and not everything is available. And I like that because I only get what I need, and I buy local. I mean, I have a farmer's market 2 steps from my place. It's generally local, not everything. Sometimes they just get stuff from, Spain or something, somewhere else. But sometimes, I can buy, let's say, wool socks from wool. That's from sheep that are grown and raised here, and they're made here. Little things like that. But same thing if I want to buy organic food, I go to a local bio shop. I don't go to Whole Foods, all right? I'm not supporting the big monster of Amazon all the time, right? Little things like this. Now, this money system matters, and there was a big movement of crypto because that was trying to sort of help people step away from this system, all right? It was a different kind of system. However, this sort of tight-knit group of beings that have brought about this usury system are also trying to take control of that world as well. They will take control of a lot of that world. Not all of it, but a lot of it, they will. That's just the nature of this matrix that we are in. And the reason I mention it again is because there's no way that we can ascend. There's no way that we can truly live spiritually aligned if we don't address the subject of money. Now, there is a subject of money from a personal perspective of your own relationship with money. And then there is a subject of money of how it relates to your immediate environment and your, like, let's say the town or the city where you live in. Like, where do you spend your money? And in some places, I know in the United States, it's difficult to spend your money anywhere but at the big corporations because there are literally no small shops or any of that around. This is one of the reasons why I left, my beloved and I left, because we wanted a different lifestyle. And that's what I like about living where I am. There are a lot more smaller businesses. Even if I want to buy electronics, I have to go to like the more local stores, right? So even though some of these things might be coming from China, they're benefiting a local business owner. Little things like that. And so the system of money, again, it's real because other options were taken away from us way back, all right? I think around the Civil War, right? They started changing with the killing of Abraham Lincoln. It changed a lot of things, right? So the system has been in the works in the United States for a long time. And we know the United States is one of those, it's been like a major superpower, the major superpower in the world, financially speaking as well. And so as we go through this process, I want you to think about this. I've been thinking about this more and more, even in terms of clothes. When I was living in Poland, I found some really excellent local artisans and people making clothes with, let's say, fabric that was coming from, Europe and not necessarily from China. And they were making the clothes there, like, let's say in Warsaw, Poland, locally made. And I really appreciated that. Now, of course, they weren't that much more expensive than going to Zara or another store. And there are sometimes no other options, right? If you want to buy like a really nice or a big coat or something, you might have to go to a place like that. But in general, it's good to think about this. It's good to think about, where are we spending the money? Are we supporting the big corporations, even though sometimes we might not have an option to? And are we enslaved to this usury system? This is where it is important that we address things like debts and things that are hanging over our heads. Sometimes, even within this spiritual world, you have people that are so greedy that tell other seekers and they say, well, it's fine if you go into debt because God's going to give you more. And yes, God will give you more. But I believe that kind of mindset, this debt mindset, is still coming from the usury system, all right? It's still coming from a matrix sort of take on what spirituality is about. And I'm not saying that you don't reward people like your spiritual guides and your not spiritual guides, but like, let's say spiritual teachers, right? That are in physical form, right? What I'm saying is, are you rewarding them, or are you going to the pharmacist and saying, I'm depressed? Not even the pharmacist, the psychiatrist and the pharmacist and, big pharma, and saying, I'm depressed, give me pills, right? I'm depressed, let me go to the bottle. Instead of looking at the world around you and saying, who is somebody else that can give me better guidance, who's not necessarily interested in and just, siphoning off resources off of me, but is actually interested in sharing, whether it's food that they're making, whether it's clothes that they're making, whether it's wisdom that they're sharing, right? All of these things I think are important to think about as we go through this process, because it's the only way to truly ascend, all right? I don't know what you might be hearing from other people or other teachers, but we cannot ascend in the sense of being able to avoid the reality of the matrix that we're all part of. And there are people who have become mostly, fully, or some totally fully independent of this usury system, where they barter for everything. They live fully independent. They have, their own lands, and they can grow their own foods. And that's excellent. I think that's great. And ideally, we would all be moving towards that. But it is possible even living in cities, all right? It is possible even living in faraway places where there are a lot of corporations there, from grocery stores to banking to the rest of it. But the first step is always awareness, is becoming aware. Oh yeah, how do I spend my money? How do I make my money? I'm going to close it with this. This usury system, it's bigger than just money. It's a way of enslaving people spiritually. It's a way of degenerating the value of family. And the way that this happened is that the system is so hungry, it's so greedy, right? And it seduced a lot of, I know women, because especially because I work with so many women who come to me, especially in their 30s, and say, I spent all this time chasing money, chasing physical success, right? Like work success and getting the money. And a lot of them working for big corporations. And yet they say, I'm utterly miserable and lonely. Why? Is because they were seduced by the system. And it is important, as I close this, as I've said this so many times, that we become aware of what we are valuing in the world. Are we idolizing money, right? Are we idolizing this greed and this system because it just looks good, right? Even for spiritual people, and I say quote unquote because there's really not such a thing. We're all spiritual people. But even, let's say, more spiritually aware people aware of there's another realm beyond the physical, people who are doing the inner work and waking up and all that. Even for people like that, it can be a trap to see others on social media or even in real life who have all these physical goods and say, well, they must be doing something right. Or the opposite, to, not like them because they have this physical wealth. It doesn't matter. What's most important is to let go of those ideas of, this person, are they better than me because of the money they have, and to really get to clarity about what our relationship is with this system. Are we really buying into it hook, line, and sinker? Are we aware that it's going on and we are intentionally making choices to the best of our ability? And then slowly, possibly, maybe moving ourselves towards a way where we're becoming fully independent, because this is the system that has enslaved humanity. It's got the strongest hold on us, because even spiritually speaking, if you're struggling to make ends meet and you're in debt and, the littlest thing can send you off the edge, how can you find, spiritual freedom in that place, right? If you're feeling lonely because you spend so much time focused on making money and not enough time on building friendships and family and etc., then, what's the point of it, right? The point of it is that it is part of the world we live in, and we've all accepted it. Our forefathers accepted it as the system that, we're now supposed to all buy into it. But there's a different way. And like I mentioned with crypto, there are people who said, you know what, we can step out of this system. But it starts again with that awareness. And then from where you are figuring out how you fit into that and how you can begin to step away from that system and become free yourself, free from this, the tentacles of this massive octopus that seems to control everything and everyone around us. But there is a way out, all right? And again, it starts with us as individuals and learning as much as possible about it, and then figuring out other ways that we can step into a new kind of way of being, a new reality that is more aligned with spirit. That is more aligned with source. Anyways, I want to hear your thoughts. Again, this was a rant video, but I hope that it maybe planted some seeds into your mind, or sort of made you think about some things, or maybe these are things that you've been thinking about, and maybe you've been thinking about them even more deeply. I want to hear your thoughts. Thanks so much for plugging in. If you like this chat, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share, and please, let's keep in touch outside of YouTube, because strange things happen every day on social media. You might know what I'm talking about, so head on to my website, ascension7.org. The link is below, it's the first link. Sign up for my newsletter. I'm not gonna harass you, trust me. Let's just keep in touch through email, or you can always email me directly at ascension7 and then number 7 at gmail.com. Be blessed.